All right, y'all. This is the first part of our backswing workshop. So we're going to focus on everything that's set up, everything that happens before you take the club away, because that's the most important. You can always control what happens there. So we're going to go over posture and grip. So the first two things I always look at is someone's setup and someone's grip. Now, in my opinion, I don't have a lot of leeway in setup. They have angles that I do like. As far as grip, though, there's no right or wrong grip as long as your hands are somewhat touching. Don't care if you're baseball, overlap, or interlock. Personally, I use interlock with a fairly neutral to weak grip, but it just depends on how you match it up. So, first thing we'll look at is posture. I always like to see the balls of the feet, the kneecaps, and armpits in a straight line. So, if you've ever taken a lesson from me, you know that I draw a line starting at the balls of your feet and make sure everything's in a straight line. Now, what does this entail? Well, if there's someone taller, you may need a little bit wider stance. You'll notice how wider stance brings me closer to the ground. That way I don't have to lean over as much. Next, we just want a little bit of knee bend, not a lot. Everyone says you have to get ready to be athletic. That's not true. You want to move into an athletic position. So a little bit of knee bend. And then what I like to see is I see a lot of coaches that want you to have really neat posture. Well, what's going to happen is you're going to stand up through impact if you have that posture, because that's not what your body wants to do. If you have a little bit of slack here, it gives room for your upper back to extend. Then you can move into that good impact position. So I like to think of it as I'm sitting on a bar stool and I'm passed out at the bar and have my arm here, kind of round my back like that. Don't want too much, don't want to be hunchback, but just a little bit of reserve spine extension. So you can go like this and just take a little bit out of it. That should have your armpits, kneecaps, and balls of your feet on a straight line. And that allows you to go from here into a good impact position. Next, we'll talk about grip. So if we're just talking about a thought-free downswing, a neutral grip would be your best chance for that. However, there are different ways you can match it up, so we'll go over the three weak, strong, and neutral. The three different types of grips, basically, and it's kind of a spectrum, but we'll go over each end of the spectrum. So if I were to stand here and let my arms hang, you'll see they're sitting here at about 45 degrees. My wrists are faced out about 45 degrees each way. Then I'd set them on the club. That is a neutral grip. It might be different for each person. Some people might have a little bit more twist in their wrists or a little bit less, but that's going to be your neutral grip because your wrist will always want to go back to that angle. So if I have it set neutral, it'll always go back to that square face. Now, stronger grip would be your hands rotated away from the target. And what that will influence is a little bit more across the line at the top and a steeper downswing with a lot less wrist action to close the face. So that face is already square and I haven't even flexed my wrist yet. This is great for a player who can really shallow the club and they already have the face square. Boom. But if you're someone who's really steep into it, I don't recommend a stronger grip. For you, you might want a weaker grip. A weaker grip requires the hands to be rotated a little bit towards the target and a little bit of wrist flexion to keep that face square. Now, what is square? Square basically means this club head is in line with my back line. It's parallel to my back line. This would be open, this would be closed, this is square. I use wrist flexion to control that. At the top, they might be a little bit more laid off due to this wrist flexion they have to keep the club square. This also allows them, because someone who has a weaker grip has more ulnar deviation, which is basically throwing this angle. Club head's going to be wider, thus more shallow. So if you're someone who struggles with a hook and is too shallow, maybe you want to strengthen that grip a little bit to get it more on top. Those are just matchups, but for all intents and purposes, we're going to be going over this with the neutral grip. Hands hanging in front of us, natural angle, and put them on the club. There, as you can see, if I just take the club back, it's square, take it to the top, it's pretty much in line, it's not laid off, it's not across, it's in line, and that face is pretty square. So when I start my downswing, I don't have to do too much, I can just kind of pivot.